Welcome back to my channel, the Voyage family. Today we have this outstanding scholar, and he is one of my personal mentor in the academics. Please meet Dr. Ogoreni Omotade. I will not be able to do justice to the full introduction, so please, sir, can you just introduce yourself, sir?
Well, I'm sure you can do all the justice.
No, sir. You're my boss.
The level of professional familiarity that I can use that way. Like you said, I'm Dr. Ogoreni Omotade Richard. I am a food microbiologist and biotechnologist, a reader presently, and I did my PhD at University of Ibadan, Department of Microbiology. My second degree was also there. My first degree was from Federal University of Technology, Akure.
Wow, thank you very much, sir. Please, what is the area of your specialization?
And like I mentioned, I focus on food microbiology and biotechnology. So specifically, I work on fermented foods, and I also work on probiotic microorganisms.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, how was your PhD journey?
Well, unusually, it was interesting for me.
Really?
It was
That's
fun.
The first time.
Yeah, it was a fun-filled experience. I must confess, and then it was fulfilling too.
Okay. Was there any lowest points or highest points?
Yeah, there were low points, and definitely there were several high points. And the low point, as expected, would be, as a microbiologist, actually, you always come to a point where you collect so many isolates, and then you are looking forward to taking the isolates to the next level. And then, because of the challenges that we have around here, infrastructure, power especially, you can get to a point where those isolates, all of them, you just lose them. And then you have to go back and collect your samples. So that I would say my case was not an exception. I experienced that, and incidentally, I got my samples from far and wide. I got samples from as far as the northern part of the country. So there was a case where I had to go back and collect the samples. So that was a low point for me, and I think there were times too that I had issues with finances. So
how did you scale through the challenges?
For those ones that have to do with losing of isolates, you just have to go back and re-isolate. There is no shortcut to it. So you have to go back and re-isolate. You have to go back and collect the samples and re-isolate. And I think one lesson one can pick from that is that it just makes you a master of what you are doing. Like you're repeating the process, so you have an opportunity to do it better. Collect the isolates better. Maybe you have an opportunity to now properly collect your samples. Whatever you might have done wrong earlier, you have an opportunity to correct those ones. And for the finances, I'll just say I was fortunate to get a fellowship.
Wow!
So that helped me to weather through that, the financial storm, or that part of it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Considering your level now, your position as a reader, how do you cope with the pressure of balancing the academics and attending to your students and life?
Well, I believe in compartmentalization, and I happen to be one person that also value the importance of a total map. That's the way I put it. So I realized, that's need for that awareness, that self-awareness, that as much as your work is important, your family is also important, and then your work with God, your religious life is also important, your social life too is important. So when you value all of those things and you know that you can't afford for them to suffer, then you will know that you have to pay attention to them. So the way I do it is just to acknowledge and appreciate and give them all the attention that they deserve and they are supposed to have. So what that means is that at some point you really need to switch from work. That's a fact. You have to switch from work and switch to the family. And at sometimes you have to switch to your service to God. And sometimes you have to switch to your friends or your colleagues.
Thank you very much. As a renowned scholar, you are mentioning God. You must be a very spiritual person. Because this is contrary to what is known, like professors don't believe in God.
Well, I won't be able to characterize myself, but I believe in God. I'll just say that I believe in God, and then I won't say my religion now, but I believe in God, and I am one that believes that God is in control of everything, and everything about me, they're in His hands. So I have to lean on Him, look up to Him to get things happen. So
Wow.
I very well believe in God.
Thank you very much. Please, if you want to advise the younger ones that want to go for their PhD, what life experience do you think they should get from the experience, from the PhD experience?
I will say that when you're going into it, have an open mind. Don't have a closed mind. Don't be rigid in your thoughts and your expectations. It can go either way. It can go north, it can go south. So have your open mind in that direction. But eventually it goes north. I mean, you will eventually get out of it, but it's never a smooth ride. So it's more of like an undulating ride. And I think that's what makes one. So for anyone that is going to PhD, I just tell them that it's actually an experience that transforms one. It's a transformative experience. And anything that is transformative, my own thought is that it's not always a pleasurable experience. But at the end of the day, you become a better person. So go into it with that mindset that you are going to battle or you are going to weather storms. But eventually, at the end of the day, you become a more refined person. You become a better person.
So for people that have their PhD and want to come into academics, what advice do you? How do they come to academics?
Well, you already have a PhD. That puts you in a good position. It's a requirement to come into academics, and I understand that the system even is in short, as in short of PhDs. So that means the doors are already open. So what I would just advise is that the person should look around and then send the applications around, and as much as possible, if they don't have publications yet, I think it's important for them to get publications out from their PhD because it is important that one gives an impression that you really can thrive on the job as an academic. And one of the requirements is your ability to publish. Then obviously you should be able to teach since you are one that has synthesized knowledge. That's what PhD is about. So just make yourself available. Already you are needed, so make yourself available.
Okay, so if we would love to know how you all actually got into academics. Was it before your PhD or after your PhD?
I got into academics before my PhD, while my PhD was going on.
Oh,
That's when I got into academics. So just slightly after my master's program, I was fortunate to get a position as an assistant lecturer.
okay.
So that was the case for me. So I got a PhD and I progressed in the career.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We want to know how you actually got admission into your PhD program.
I don't know if they still do it now, but in my case, it was, I can't remember that time now. But what happened was that I finished my master's and I kind of transited into the PhD program.
Immediately?
Yes, it was immediately. I finished the master's and I proceeded into the PhD program. I think we call it proceed form. So I picked a proceed form and it happens to be the same department, the same university. So there was no interruption. And ordinarily I was qualified for the PhD program based on my grades for the master's.
Okay, was it the same supervisor that supervised for your master's that supervised for your PhD?
Yes, it was.
So how was the relationship with your supervisor during for your both since same person supervised you for both?
Well, because it's the same person that supervised me for masters and PhD. For masters, I would say it was a time to get along, to get familiar with one another, to understand, the person. So it could not have been entirely smooth, but over time we were able to get along. I was able to understand him, but ultimately the experience was also a beautiful one for the masters. I mean, my research was by the standard of masters, it was successful. We got a publication from that experience, naturally, I was looking forward to PhD with him already. So I mean, based on the times I had as a master's student, and for the PhD, it was a smooth sail. I must confess, and credit to him. It was a smooth sail. But I will give that credit to the fact that we had already been able to build
the relationship
while the master's program was going on.
So what motivated you to further your studies after your master's program? Was it because you had a PhD grade, or you just felt you wanted, or you already knew you were going to go into academics? How did you define the career path?
Well, I I already had interest and passion for academics, right even from my undergraduate days. I've always known that it has always been an interest to go into academics. And I would say one of the influence was the family I come from. So to an extent, my father has already set this standard.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of
you have to follow through.
me following in that path and if possible break that record. So, but ultimately, it has been my interest to go into academics. I like impacting knowledge, and it's also beautiful when you discover things. There's a kind of sense of fulfillment and thrilling that it brings to you. So it has always been my interest.
Thank you very much, sir. Lastly, we want to ask you, looking back, what would you have changed about your career path or your PhD journey?
Well, if I was say, looking back, I would have still been in academics, as a matter of fact. But if I would have changed something, I think I would have really loved to explore new environments. You know, maybe when I went for my masters, right from that point, I would have really loved that I had the opportunity, or maybe I should have even pushed better to look for international positions, as in get universities outside, the country. As a matter of fact, you get exposed to better infrastructure, and then it's also a way to widen your horizon, your scope. So that's one thing that I would have changed, or that I will change if I have the opportunity to go back.
Okay, so I know you had said it was the last question, but because of what you just said, now you have international collaborations right now. How did you go about it? Because I've seen most of your articles. Yeah, I have, and I've read them.
How I went about it, I think it comes from the PhD too. It plays a longer, let me say, it plays an important part in that. I mean, especially from the interactions I had with those that I've been able to collaborate with. If or when you do your PhD, I think it's important to do a good job. And even after doing a good job, I think it's also important to really be patient enough and be hardworking enough to make sure that you publish that work on, good platforms, reputable platforms, journals, and well-referred journals. That's actually one's identity in academics. That's one's currency. That's the money that you spend as an academic person. So when you now approach people, or when you put yourself forward, or you seek for collaborations, even in the midst of whatever ideas that you're putting forward, and they want to check you up, those are the things that they check for them to now consider working with you or otherwise. So I think I would say that played an important role, or it's an important factor in helping me to get the bits of collaborations I've been able to get. I won't say I've gotten so much, but that's a factor as far as
what you have is not enough. Thank you very much, Dr. Tade. We are so happy to have you on this channel.
Thank you for
having me. And the Voyage family. This is all. This will be all on this episode. Next episode, we're bringing another outstanding scholar, as usual. Thank you very much, Dr. Tade, for this time.
Thank you for